Okay, good afternoon. I'm continuing with talking about rewards and punishments in a systemic form. And that means relationships and things that are dynamic, not static things, but things that interact. Systems are not static but dynamic, that is, moving through cycles and interacting with their surroundings in order to satisfy their needs, which are known as inputs. That's the need of the system, and satisfy those of their environment at the same time, which would be other systems which surround it, and thereby mutually arriving at their purposes. For example, systems of the human body work for the good of the body, and they give off, take certain inputs and give off certain inputs. And I don't know if other systems in the body would accept those outputs, or if they would all be excreted into the larger system outside the body. But anyway, so these systems in the body, like the circulatory system or the right now I just can't think of other systems, but maybe you could think of some other systems in the body. Excretory system, the digestive system. Those systems are all part of one larger system, which is the human body or even the human being, and that is a very complex system. So now when you're talking about that larger system, that is more important than any one of those smaller systems that makes it up. So the smaller systems work for the good of the whole body, which is more complex, and it's more important than the good of a part, such as an organ, which is less complex. The good of the body is more important than, let's say, the good of one finger or something like that. We can try to diagnose world problems, examining them to see if there are symptoms of the rewards and punishment syndrome, which can be inside of larger systems. That would be, in the case of a human body, if someone would get sick, there would be another system within their body that was working in a systemic way, in an orderly way, but it would be a syndrome. It would not be for the good of the human body. And that's what rewards and punishments is. In a system, I call rewards and punishments is the start of addiction. So it's like there's an addiction within a system. As in the case of an individual addict, there are certain signs or symptoms showing that an addiction syndrome exists. One of them is artificial integration. So this is a rewards and punishment syndrome that exists within a system. Integration and disintegration happen naturally within interactive processes. It can happen naturally, an integration. An example of a natural integration is when two young people fall in love and get married. But when or if manipulation begins, manipulation is made of rewards and punishments. It can cause premature or artificial integration and disintegration, both. An example of artificial integration has to do with countries that favor international corporations with subsidies, low interest rates, low tariffs, and many other ways. Because of these artificial means, more countries become more integrated. In other words, those companies and the and the leadership of the country might become integrated, while disintegration takes place within the countries between the favored and the disfavored sectors. An example is Mexico and the United States, who signed the North American Free Trade Agreement. Businessmen from international corporations had bright new opportunities, while, at least in Mexico, national companies had to close their doors. They were not being favored. The international were getting the good interest rates or the loans. Many loans were being given out. A lot of rewards were given to the companies that moved to Mexico and started their production in Mexico from the United States. Many people on both sides of the border lost their jobs. Favoritism or rewards toward international corporations meant forced integration and disintegration. Another example of artificial integration is the United States and the Soviet Union during the Second World War. We remember that war would be a punishment. War is punishment. It's revenge, or for other reasons, a country goes to war with another country. The two countries became integrated, the United States and the Soviet Union, very quickly during the war when they became friends, united against their enemy, Germany. But before and after the war, they were enemies. The United States and the Soviet Union were enemies. So their integration was another symptom of systemic rewards and punishments. In drug addiction, a division develops between the part of the brain that receives the drug, it's called the reward center, and the rest of the body. Division and polarization is another symptom of the syndrome of systemic addiction. And we have to always remember that addiction is rewards and punishments. That's those two, they go together. Rewards and punishments starts the addiction. And it is systemic because it's the beginning of a chain reaction. There could be polarization. Now we're talking about division, also polarization. For example, when refugees in Chicago receive more in their general assistance checks than Americans receive, this can cause polarization. It does cause polarization. It has caused it between groups of foreigners and Americans who come from this comes from differences when one group or another is rewarded. So in this case, the refugees were getting more money. That's a good way to divide up and polarize people from each other. The Americans and the foreigners did not get along together very well. Another example is in the United States, there's extensive polarization between the 1% billionaires and those who don't have, for example, any work, the poor. So this is another example. The billionaires who have been rewarded, and the rewards don't even help them because they don't need money. The people who need money are poor people, so their needs are not being met, and that's why they become addicted to money, because it's not really, it doesn't really satisfy the need. We all have the need for love, and money does not satisfy that need, so we try for more money and more and more, and we're never satisfied, and that's addiction. And the reward of the billionaires makes no sense at all. The people who need the money, it wouldn't be a reward, it's just a need being met. That would be the poor people. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for listening.